The sheep are all huddled together. There's a great deal of comfort in being warm and safe and secure in the sheepfold. Here they are protected by the fences and the gate, because they know that the world outside of the fold is a dangerous place. Sheep are skittish creatures by nature, timid, but not without reason. Because when they're out there in the hills and the valleys, it can seem as if everything is out to get them. Wolves, coyotes, lions, you name it. They can never relax. But here in the fold, things are different. And they feel as if they can let their guard down. So the fold is good, but lately they've been feeling as if it might be too much of a good thing. Because the word in the hills and the dales is that there's a new ravenous beast, a COVID monster that has been terrorizing the sheep. And the flock has been under lockdown for what seems like forever. It's good to be safe in the fold, but they're getting a little tired of it. Yes, the straw has been gathered and brought in for them. It has kept their stomachs filled. It's kept them alive. But it's nothing like the tender grasses of the hillsides with which they long to fill their bellies. And the water in the trough has kept them going, has kept them hydrated, but it tastes nothing like the waters of a cold mountain stream. So lately, there's been a lot of bleeding in the flock. The sheep are complaining about the shepherd and his policies. This is bad. The job of a shepherd's not just to keep us safe. It's not just to give us life. He's supposed to give us life more abundantly. And that includes being able to lie down in green pastures and walking beside still waters and traveling down right paths with his rod and his staff to comfort us. We can't live the abundant life if we can't get out of the fold. This is bull. So there's a lot of discontent, and honestly not without reason, because it's true that sheep are not made only to shelter in the fold. Yes, safety is good, but when you're only taking care of safety, you can never fulfill your full purpose. So how to balance the need for green pastures with the requirement for safety in such dangerous times? That is a question that the sheep simply cannot answer, and they are frustrated and they are restless. So perhaps it's not surprising when dissenting voices begin to be heard. And it's not surprising that some start to listen to them. Where are these voices coming from? I do not know, though I have my suspicions. It could be that Russian wolves are seeking to stir up trouble again. Or perhaps these voices are secretly funded by the corporations who know that their profits will continue to plummet so long as the sheep are not out in the fields. But wherever they are coming from, these voices are being heard within the flock. And sheep, well, here's the thing about sheep. They are social animals. Oh, they like to think that they are rational, that they do things because they decide they are logical and reasonable. But the honest truth is they mostly act in certain ways because they want to belong to the group. Have you ever heard the story? This is a true story, and it happened about 15 years ago. There was a flock of sheep in Turkey who were out grazing near a cliff. And at some point, one of those sheep decided to jump off the cliff. No one knows why. Maybe it was suicidal. Maybe it was just a misstep. Nobody knows. But hey, it was, just one sheep. Not the end of the world. But guess what happened next? One by one, the rest of those sheep, and there were 1,500 of them in all. One by one, they commonly followed the leader over the cliff. And over 1,000 sheep died that day. True story. A third of them actually survived. But you know why they survived? Because the pile of sheep at the bottom of the cliff had gotten so big that their fall wasn't so bad. But that's sheep for you. They need to belong. And their need to belong is so great that it can often trump logic and reason. So some of the sheep, in frustration, begin to listen to the strange voices. And others, out of desire to belong, listen to them. There have always been thieves who come to steal and kill and destroy. They have always been interested in using and manipulating the sheep to their own ends and for their own profits. But I'll tell you, they've gotten particularly good at it in recent years. Good at manipulating sheep to act and vote in certain ways, to vote for certain policies and parties that often hurt sheep more than help them. So they will manipulate sheep through social media, using techniques like astroturfing, creating fake groups whose opinions seem really popular. Because you see, sheep are always looking for greener pastures, they will easily fall for astroturfing. Or thieves can use clickbait, drawing sheep into conversations by posting stories and memes that are so intriguing that sheep can't help but click on them. And then they get sucked into conversations where they feel like they have to go along with crazy notions in order to fit in. So, while it might be true that sheep will not follow a stranger, but will run from them because they do not know the voices of strangers. But it seems we're living in strange times where good thieves have got so creative and using the flocking instinct to get sheep to listen to them anyways. And I'm going to be honest with you here. I'm going to tell you that I don't speak today from outside the fold. I'm just another sheep. I am here under lockdown with the rest of you. I feel the same frustration at not being able to go out and frolic in the green pastures and lie down beside the still waters. It's making me discontent as well. And I will also confess that I have the very same flocking instinct as all of the rest of you sheep. Oh, I would love to think that all of my actions and all of my decisions are driven by intellect and knowledge and reason. But you want to know the honest truth? I am influenced very much by what my friends think and by what sources of information that just feel right to me. And because of this, it's quite possible that I do not act and will not act in rational or sensible ways. And that's kind of where we all are right now. But here is also the reality of our present situation. The COVID monster is still out there, is still ravaging the hills and the dales. Yes, we will be able to leave the safety and security of the sheepfold at some point. And it actually matters a great deal which voice we're going to listen to when it comes to being called to go out of the gate of the sheepfold. But how? How in these complex times, and given the flocking instinct that we have, how will we know which voice to listen to? Well, there is one who is called a good shepherd, who has the sort of voice we need to listen for at times like this. How can we tell the good shepherds? What makes a good shepherd's voice different from the voices of thieves and robbers? Well, first of all, there's this. Good shepherds know the sheep, know them so well that they can call each one by name. So that's the first thing we sheep need to look for. And I fear there are many voices who are now calling the sheep to go out of the fold, who do not know us. Even more damning, they're not interested in us sheep. Oh, they might be interested in our wool or our milk or our meat. They might be interested in how they're able to profit from us and what we do out there in the dangerous hills and dales, but they're not interested in us, in our hopes and our dreams and our aspirations. They may be interested in the abundance of their own goods and possessions, but they are not interested in making sure that we have life and have it abundantly. That is the key thing about a good shepherd. The thief may come only to steal and kill and destroy. The good shepherd comes that they may have life and have it abundantly. So I would suggest to you that anyone who is arguing that we need to trade life for abundance in terms of a stronger economy, they have misjudged the needs of such a moment. How will we ultimately know the good shepherd? The good shepherd lays down his own life for the sheep. If there are calculations to be made in terms of paying with lives for the opportunity to exit the safety of the fold, good shepherds see that calculation in a different light. Good shepherds are more willing to put down their own life and put their own life on the line for the safety of the sheep. How might that make us hear differently the voices that are calling us to exit the safety of the fold right now? Yes, we will leave. And we will not leave without cost in the terms of life. That's just the reality when you're dealing with a monster as dreadful as the COVID beast. And I know the temptation might be to sacrifice the weak and the vulnerable in order to make that transition. I'll tell you what, that's a calculation that a hired hand might make. One who has no real connection with us sheep. It's a calculation that might be made by leaders who have come to see themselves as serving only whoever can pay them the most. Good shepherds are different. Good shepherds are there to serve all of the sheep. And if there is a life calculation to be made, good shepherds lay their own lives down first. So listen, will you? Will you listen for the voice of a good shepherd? Because the fact of the matter is, the good shepherd is out there and is calling. In the Gospel of John, Jesus makes seven I am statements. I'm the light of the world. I'm the bread of life. I am the vine. I am the way, the truth, and the life, to name some of them. In each one of those I am statements is a powerful metaphor that Christians have reflected on and meditated on down through the centuries. But I would suggest to you that one of the most powerful I am statements is this: I am the good shepherd. But I wonder if we've maybe missed some of the key meanings of that metaphor. In my experience, most Christians think of that saying in terms of their personal relationship with Jesus. You know, it's all about me and Jesus and what Jesus does for me and how I follow him. And when that gets tied into the story of the death of Jesus for our sakes, it's obviously very meaningful. And that's all very well and good, and indeed a very good part of what is intended in the meaning of that saying. Nevertheless, I would like us to remember that the obvious meaning of this metaphor makes us sheep. And sheep are indeed among the animals whose herding instinct is the strongest. Sheep, to put it bluntly, don't act simply as individuals. And I don't think human beings do either. And any interpretation of this saying of Jesus that does not take that into account is deeply impoverished. And it strikes me now, we're in this position where we find ourselves, when we put ourselves in the shelter of the fold, waiting for the Good Shepherd to come and open the gate so that we can go out into the hills and valleys and experience life more abundantly. That maybe this saying of Jesus is also intended to teach us something about the kind of leaders we look for and settle for in times of great peril. Let us pray. Good Shepherd, we need to hear your voice. Teach us to listen for it in these troubling times. Amen.